you find yourself right here in front of me asking questions. Oh, goodness.
The moment he started asking his question, Caitlin Clark's face changed instantly like someone had flipped a switch. 1 second she was relaxed, answering normal questions with her usual calm energy.
I feel like I'm that same kid that's kind of on the same path and living the same story. Like I feel that like that's something really special, and you want to give people those type of opportunities. And
the next second, the Fever reporter opened his mouth, and Caitlin looked like she just heard the one voice she never wanted to hear again.
I'm just curious, what was it like to have that competitive juices?
Damn. Head down. Like, damn. No eye contact. Damn.
Her smile dropped, her shoulders tightened, her eyes went straight to the floor. It wasn't confusion, it wasn't tiredness, it was pure, genuine disgust, the kind you can't fake even on your best media day. And honestly, can you blame her? This is the same reporter who spent an entire season dividing her fan base, leaking private team information, and creating drama that made Caitlin's job harder every single week. The guy talks like he's delivering breaking news, but half the time he's just breaking trust. He didn't even get 3 words out before Caitlin's expression said everything. Oh great, this guy again. No eye contact, no warmth, nothing. Just the coldest reaction we've ever seen from Caitlin Clark, and it was well earned. Today we're breaking down why Caitlin looked physically sick the moment this reporter started speaking, and why her reaction wasn't an accident. It was a message. When the reporter started speaking, everything about Caitlin Clark's energy changed. She had been fully present, responding to normal questions with her usual calm focus.
Clearwater over here. Hi, great job out there.
Damn! Look at that. Look at Look at that smile.
But the instant his voice entered the room, her whole posture collapsed. Her eyes dropped, her shoulders tightened, and she looked like she wanted to be anywhere except in front of that microphone. This wasn't a small reaction. It was immediate, automatic, honest, and it told you everything you needed to know about how deep the tension runs between Caitlin and this reporter. What makes this moment so striking is Caitlin's usual professionalism. She handles pressure better than most veterans. She doesn't snap at media. She doesn't get rattled easily. She's patient, thoughtful, and composed. So when someone can trigger her this fast, there's history behind it. Her reaction wasn't caused by the question, it was caused by the identity of the person asking it, someone who has made her season harder than it ever needed to be. To understand that disgust, you have to understand the months leading up to this moment. And the issues didn't begin with one bad question. They started long before the golf event. All season long, this reporter treated Caitlin's presence like a burden instead of the best thing that ever happened to the franchise. Instead of appreciating the sold-out arenas, the national attention, and the revival of the Fever, he framed her fan base as a dark side. Not once repeatedly. That label didn't just disrespect fans, it disrespected Caitlin herself, because players know that when you attack their supporters, you're indirectly attacking them. Her fans filled seats, they brought energy, they revived the team's relevance, and he portrayed them as a problem. Instead of celebrating her impact, he created negative conversations that didn't need to exist. Every press conference felt heavier because of him. Every game had another storyline he was ready to twist, and Caitlin handled it quietly, professionally, until she didn't. By the time he asked that recent question, she wasn't reacting to one moment. She was reacting to months of tension building inside her, months of comments that drove a wedge between her, the team, and the people who supported her most. But if that was the only issue, she might have tolerated him. The real breaking point came when he crossed a line no player forgives, leaking private medical information. The Fever were intentionally keeping Caitlin's ankle issue quiet, not to hide anything unethical, but to protect her. Every professional team manages injuries carefully. It keeps opponents from targeting weak spots. It keeps pressure off the athlete. It maintains control. But this reporter didn't care. He took that internal information and blasted it behind a paywall like it was exclusive treasure. The moment that article went up, the situation spiraled. Fans panicked. Analysts questioned the team's decisions. Opponents suddenly knew exactly where she was vulnerable. Even worse, Caitlin had to address it in interviews she never wanted to give. She wasn't just physically exposed, she was emotionally drained. The one thing athletes hope for privacy regarding their health was stripped away. After that, the trust between Caitlin and the reporter didn't just fade, it died completely. So when he opened his mouth during the recent media session and she instantly shut down, it wasn't slight irritation, it was the reaction of someone who remembered exactly how much damage he caused. But the reporter isn't the only one responsible. The person who allowed this toxic environment to grow made everything worse: Kathy Engelbert. If the commissioner had stepped in early, much of this chaos could have been avoided, but Kathy Engelbert did what she does best: pretend everything is fine when it's clearly not. She watched Caitlyn get targeted physically in game after game and acted like it was normal. She watched the media environment around the Fever turn into a circus and never addressed it. Instead of protecting the league's rising star, Engelbert seemed more interested in avoiding accountability. She spoke in calm, polished phrases, while the league burned around her athletes weren't protected. The officiating inconsistency grew. Tension with reporters escalated. Her silence created a vacuum, and that vacuum allowed reporters to push boundaries they shouldn't have crossed. The injury leak happened because nobody in leadership set clear lines. The fan base tension grew because nobody addressed the negativity. So when Caitlyn reacted with disgust the moment the reporter spoke, it wasn't just about him. It reflected the frustration of a season in which the league's biggest star felt unprotected from every angle. Engelbert didn't create the reporter's behavior, but she enabled an environment where it could happen without consequences. Body language doesn't lie, especially from someone as polished as Caitlin Clark. When he started talking, she didn't flinch, she froze. Every part of her reaction screamed discomfort. Her eyes dropped instantly, her shoulders stiffened, and her voice lost all warmth. That kind of shift only happens when someone feels deeply uncomfortable or deeply disrespected, and in Caitlyn's case, it was both. She wasn't rude, she didn't snap, she didn't confront him, but she shut down completely, stripped the answer to its most basic form, and moved on as quickly as possible. That's how athletes communicate boundaries without breaking professionalism. They don't need to argue. They don't need emotion. They just withhold access. And Caitlyn withheld everything: eye contact, emotion, connection, detail. For another reporter, she'd share insights, personal reflections, even humor. But with him, he got the minimum required by the job. This wasn't emotional weakness. It was self-protection. It was quiet defiance. It was the cleanest way to say, you don't get the real version of me anymore. And that's devastating for a beat reporter whose career depends on relationships. For a beat reporter, losing the trust of the franchise centerpiece is almost impossible to recover from. Their job relies on access on genuine conversations, honest answers, and mutual respect. Without that, their work becomes shallow, repetitive, and irrelevant. Caitlyn's reaction didn't just damage his standing with her, it damaged his standing with the whole organization. Teammates notice, coaches notice, PR staff notices, and once a reporter is labeled as someone the star doesn't trust, every interaction becomes icy. Suddenly, players give shorter answers, coaches hold back insight, staff becomes cautious. That single moment when Caitlyn recoiled from his question is now part of his professional identity, and because it went public, the fallout is even bigger. Other media members saw it, other teams saw it, the league saw it. No one wants to be the reporter. The biggest rookie in WNBA history visibly shuts down for that's a stain you can't wash off. And the worst part? He earned it. Not through honesty, but through carelessness, the kind that breaks relationships permanently. Some people think silence is weakness. For athletes like Caitlin Clark, silence is strategy. She didn't have to confront him to send her message. She didn't have to embarrass him. She didn't even have to show anger. Her calm, controlled withdrawal was louder than anything she could have said. That's what made the moment so powerful. She didn't fight, she didn't complain, she didn't look bitter, she simply refused to offer connection. That's how you handle someone who has already taken advantage of your professionalism. You stop giving them the privilege of access. Her silence told him, you burned the bridge, I'm not rebuilding it. It also told everyone watching that she knows her value. She understands she doesn't need to please every reporter. She doesn't have to pretend for people who mishandled her privacy and contributed to drama around her name. This wasn't a reaction from frustration, it was a boundary drawn with precision. And once Caitlyn draws a boundary, she doesn't move it. Caitlin Clark didn't just face physical contact this season, she faced pressure that no rookie in league history has experienced. Every arena sold out, every city waited for her arrival, every game had national coverage. And despite all that, she handled the expectations with incredible maturity. She rarely complained, she pushed through physical hits, she lifted her team, she dealt with scrutiny head on. But what made her season heavier wasn't the opponents, it wasn't the crowds, it wasn't the expectations, it was the the instability around her, the inconsistent officiating, the lack of protection, the unnecessary drama created by Engelbert's silence, and the reporter's negativity. By the time the recent interview happened, Caitlyn wasn't just reacting to a question, she was reacting to months of pressure created by people who should have supported her but instead added stress. Her expression wasn't an overreaction, it was the natural response of someone who has been carrying more than anyone realizes and finally reached a moment where her face exposed the truth. Cathy Engelbert's role in all this cannot be ignored. Her lack of action throughout the season created an unstable environment for Caitlyn and the Fever. Instead of addressing dangerous play, she brushed it aside. Instead of demanding consistency from officials, she gave vague explanations. Instead of guiding the media atmosphere, she hid behind rehearsed talking points. Her silence gave cover to people who stirred division. When fans were insulted, Engelbert said nothing. When the injury leak created panic, she said nothing. When the league's most valuable player was clearly frustrated, she said nothing. Leadership isn't about smiling during interviews. It's about setting structure and protecting players. Engelbert didn't do either. So when Caitlyn's face dropped as that reporter spoke, it reflected a season where she felt unprotected from every angle. The commissioner failed her, the reporter betrayed her, and the league acted like everything was fine. This wasn't just a media moment, it was a snapshot of a broken system, one that Caitlyn has been forced to navigate alone. Caitlyn Clark didn't need dramatic words to deliver her message. Her reaction, the moment the reporter began speaking, said everything. She's done giving respect to people who don't earn it. She didn't hide behind forced smiles. She didn't pretend the relationship still worked. She didn't offer warmth that wasn't deserved. She kept her answer short, distant, and professional, nothing more. Her expression wasn't emotional, it was intentional. It was the final signal that her boundaries are firm now. After a season filled with targeted hits, bad officiating, media chaos, and leadership failure, she's choosing to protect her energy. The reporter lost access, Engelbert lost credibility, and Caitlyn gained clarity. She showed the entire WNBA one thing: she knows her power and she knows how to use it. The era of Caitlyn Clark staying quiet for the sake of others is over. Now she decides who gets the real version of her and who gets the cold, distant, polite response she gave that reporter. When he started talking, she didn't just react, she made a statement.